first live stream I've done on this channel in... Well, I've actually never done a live stream on this channel, come to think of it. I mean, I've done video updates of the train layout, but I've never actually done a live stream on this channel before. But anyway, a lot of folks have seen me doing the work on this layout several years back. I would say the last time I posted a video was probably 2019, or maybe even really early 2020. And so a lot of folks have wanted to know, you know, what's been going on with this channel ever since then. And there hasn't been too much. I mean, I was working on this just 3 years ago, even though I never actually posted the updates to this channel. But I do have the updates linked to this channel, and it links to my other channel where I was doing the work. But the other channel is my Alex the Historian channel, and there aren't too many railroad fans that are interested in trains on that channel. So this is the first time where I've moved back to this original channel, and I intend to continue working on the train layout from here. Now, I probably understand there's no viewers right now, I don't think. But that's because this is pretty much a new channel due to the fact that I haven't been here in a while. But let's go ahead and get a train running real quick. So I don't even think you guys can see this. Well, you can see it in one of the cameras. I have switches down here where I can turn on power to one of the engines. So let's go ahead and do the, we'll do the 440. Let me make sure all the tracks are switched. All the tracks are manual switching because it takes a bit of technical know-how and patience to install automatic switches. And while I might have the technical know-how to install the switches, I certainly didn't have the patience. So let's move this over here. We have a Bachmann 440 here. It is the engine I've wanted for the longest time, ever since I started working first on this ON30 layout. I would say, what year was it? I think I started working on it in 2018. Ever since then, I wanted a Bachmann 440. I didn't actually get this 440 until maybe a year ago. That's when it was on sale on eBay, and I was able to acquire it. I don't know why I said it's on sale on eBay. It was just, it was available for a very low price on eBay, which made it affordable for once. So that made me want to buy it. Oh, I don't think we got a connection there. Nope, still not a connection. I'm not sure what's going on. There we go. Normally when I just back the engine into the cars, they automatically couple, but I think one of the couplers was stuck to the side, so it wasn't coupling properly. There we go. I kind of take it slow when pulling out the freight train because the turn here is quite sharp, and it can fling cars right off the track if you go too fast. I think part of that, the reason why it flings cars, is actually because this caboose is the heaviest car on this whole train, this whole freight train. Caboose is the heaviest. It contains some electrical components because it's technically designed to light up when you run the caboose. I can speed this up a little bit. There we go. We'll see how that looks on all the cameras. Oh, I hear a derailment. I hear a derailment. What derailed? Unfortunately, I can't. Oh, it was one of the wheel trucks on the. Okay. Well, I can't reach it from there. I'm gonna have to let it run forward. Because the train is all the way in the back of the layout, and I can't reach it from there with all these lights and everything set up. There we go. Ooh, don't touch that. There we go. That should be good. That's never happened with this locomotive before. Actually, this layout, the way I set it up, is one of the most reliable layouts I've ever had. I don't get any derailments or anything, so that was actually very odd, because that just doesn't happen with this layout. All right, so I can run that just a wee bit faster. Let's see how that looks going around that camera. And that camera in the corner is not functional. Okay. Let's try this. It's camera 2. Properties, deactivate, activate. Deactivate, okay. Activate. Oh, don't do this to me, please. This happened to the other camera. Okay, let's unplug this. Plug it right back in. Oh, hey, Tyler Parks. Tyler says, hello, Mr. Alex, historian railroader. Do you work as a historian? If so, what speciality? So, let me answer that just a second. I can't multitask. Let's see if this works. Yes, that works. There we go. If that works, we should see the locomotive going around the corner, and there we go. Okay, so to answer your question, do I work as a historian? Technically, yes. My specialty is actually the RMS Queen Mary in Long Beach, California. Am I specifically hired by a third party to do something? No, I'm not. I don't work at the RMS Queen Mary, or the Queen Mary Hotel as they call it. I don't work there, but I do work to document the ship's history and to document the ship's current condition, as well as all of the refurbishment projects that go on. My work on both YouTube and my website help to not only raise awareness about the ship, but also to help teach people new things. As well as, at times, I have spoken to people at the ship in order to help them with context on certain things. You know, for instance, I have had some folks at the ship, one of the people who is in charge of tours, they wanted to do a tour that kind of would capture the Titanic audience. And so they said to me, is there anything on this ship that is very similar to something Titanic might have had? And, if there is, we'd like to know, because we want to make a tour around it. We want to take people to the objects or places in order to do that. So I had created for them a list of things that are similar from the Titanic to the Queen Mary, so that way they can do that. And in fact, I'm going to be making a video about that very same topic, probably either later this month or early December. But my website is rmsqmwiki, that's .org, so rmsqmwiki.org, and you can see from that website how very detailed and all the sources that I cite for all the information. Some of the information is sourced from myself because I was witness to certain things, depending on what on the topic. But so, and I have worked with several other people who also have witnessed or documented history on the Queen Mary as well, so that way we can get a more accurate thing. But yeah, so that is kind of what I do. I also, on my Alex the Historian channel, I don't specialize in anything in particular on that channel because I cover such a wide range of topics. But I like to do a lot of research into sometimes the most random things. Like, I spent several months researching the Winchester Mystery House because I'm not. Based off of what I've seen with the Queen Mary, there's a lot of advertisement that the ship is haunted and, you know, all these horrible things happened. But when you peel back the history and you look at the reality, a lot of that stuff is fake. You know, they have tours about that because it's good for marketing, it's good for getting people in onto the ship and all that. But the reality of the situation is that a lot of those haunted stories that they do on tours and stuff never happen. So when I was researching the Winchester Mystery House, it was because there's a very well-known story as to how it was built. And I didn't believe it. I'm like, no, that can't be. That can't be the reason why it was built. So I did several months of research on it, found out the truth about it, then I documented it in my video. I don't think I'm the first person to do that, honestly. But I think my video is probably the most comprehensive on YouTube about that subject, at least. So I don't have a specific speciality on YouTube for history, but when it comes to anything at all, what do I know the most about? The RMS Queen Mary. So, yeah. I also love trains, but the funny thing is, I'm actually not much of a historian on trains at all, so I can't claim anything like that. Tyler Park says, wow, that's amazing. As someone who is currently working on their master's in history, I applaud you, sir. Also love trains. Thanks so much. That's really cool that you're working on your master's in history. I wish I could say that I had some kind of degree in history. I don't. I have worked with a lot of like organizations, and I've worked in situations where I've had to document things or catalog things. I know how to handle historic documents up to up to 100 years old. I know how to deal with objects and garments that are antique and how to take care of them. But I haven't had any formal university training. And oddly enough, the training I have had, the official training I have had, I have a diploma in culinary baking and pastry. So that's the irony, is that I've always been interested in history. I've always been interested in trains, but I felt at one point that my calling was really to be a baker, a bread baker, and then that turned out not to be my calling. What ended up being the thing that I became the most passionate about was history, particularly steam history. So that became kind of my main interest. So, but yeah, I applaud you for getting your master's in history. I think that's amazing, and I think that the more people who become historians and who help to preserve history, I think it'll really benefit society in the long run, especially in the short run as well. I mean, when you document history in the short run, people today can learn about things that maybe last week they couldn't possibly have known about. But in the long run, it can help to create a better understanding of things in the future. You know, like, for instance, there's a lot of, like, rumor or misunderstanding about the Queen Mary and how it was built sometimes. Like, for instance, I think to be more specific, there's this misconception that the SS Normandy, which was the RMS Queen Mary's primary competitor in the 1930s, that the SS Normandy had a far more hydrodynamic hull than the Queen Mary. And so, even though the Queen Mary won the Blue Riband, which is technically not even an official award, but the Queen Mary won the Blue Riband for having the fastest crossing and held that title for 14 years. and the SS Normandy could never take it back after a couple of tries. And so, but it is said that, oh, well, the Queen Mary won that from sheer, horsepower, but the SS Normandy had a better designed hull that could have, won the race. And the thing is that it's not true. Because actually the Normandy had something the Queen Mary didn't have. The Normandy had a bulbous bow, a very, what's the word? A bulbous bow that wasn't at all up to the standards of bulbous bows on ships today. So it really was like a, what do they call that? Like a proto bulbous bow. The Queen Mary didn't have a bulbous bow. But what she did have was she has a cruiser style stern. So just like the Navy cruisers, they had these special sterns that were designed to be very buoyant, that allowed the stern of the ship to rest higher out of the water than any other ship with a different type of stern would have. And that helped create more buoyancy and actually reduced drag along the hull. So people say, oh, Normandy had a better hydrodynamic hull because of her bulbous bow, which reduced drag on the hull, but Queen Mary had a cruiser stern which reduced drag on the hull. And people don't know that. And so when you're able to document that kind of stuff and say, here's the facts, here's why they did this, then in the far future, when someone goes to research and see if other people are correct about that rumor, well, you've created a path for them to learn something that other people probably wouldn't have access to. So that's my long-winded way of explaining what I'm trying to say. I have difficulty sometimes just sticking to the point, but I hope you were able to understand what I was saying. Linda, hello Alex, I'm in the mood to ride some steam trains. The closest to me are the Sunol, I don't know how to pronounce that, Sunol train and Roaring Camp Railroad. Both are fun. Oh, nice. I haven't heard of those, actually. I'll have to look that up. Linda also says, yes, at Winchester, close to my house, they don't play up the ghost stuff any longer. I do have friends that worked on their Halloween nights and swear there's something there. I could believe, yeah, like, I know I said that, that I don't really believe in like most of the ghost stories that are told at Winchester or on the Queen Mary, because a lot of times it's very theatrical, the stories. But that doesn't mean I don't believe in ghosts. And so I do believe that some places are haunted. I've personally experienced hauntings, and it's made me not even doubt ghosts' existence anymore. And so, but the thing is that it's just a lot of the stories told at these tourist attractions tend to not be real. They just are very theatrical, and I don't think ghosts are really all that. I don't think ghosts are capable of half the things that people say they're able to do. I think ghosts are just remnants of energy left behind or something. I'm not really sure. So yeah, so we have this 440 here. I love it. It can pull really well. Particularly, the rails, they have really good electrical pickup because I use this this type of specialized electrically conductive grease called NOV ID, a special. That's what it's called. And I wish it had like a nickname or something, because that would make it so much easier to tell people what I use. But it's designed for things like model railroads, where you just coat the rails in a very slight coating of this electrically conductive grease. And first of all, it protects the rails from oxidation. Even though they're nickel silver and they're not supposed to oxidize, they do build up a type of patina. It's really weird. And people know what I'm talking about. People who've had these rails, they know what I'm talking about. It builds up a patina of some kind. And it feels rough to the hands sometimes. Well, this special grease is designed to, first of all, prevent that kind of oxidation from happening. And second of all, it's designed to maintain really good electrical contact. So you'll notice that as the train goes down the rails, it doesn't stop and start. There's no jittering. It's a very smooth operation. And honestly, I swear by that stuff. The No Ox ID, I love that stuff. The only time I ever have to clean the rails now is maybe every couple of months when it just gets too dusty and the dust can build up like a mucky grime. But other than that, I almost never have to clean the rails at all. And when I do clean them, I just wipe them with a paper towel. I don't even have to scrub them clean with one of those buffers that you can buy online. I think we'll switch the train soon to another train, just so people have a better view of stuff. But yeah, now I have these two cameras set up so you can see two sides of the layout, and then I have a camera set up right in front of me where you can see part of the layout. In the background over here, you can see the engine house, which can hold two engines. Right now, one of my Forneys is in there, and that's also where the 440 came out of, was from there. I have an extra Forney right here in the foreground. I'm not sure if you can even... Yeah, it's not in any of the cameras, so you can't see it. But I have an extra Forney in the foreground that's just kind of sitting there. And then in the background, I have a Porter-style locomotive that should haul the logging train. So let's read some more comments. US Train Fan says, hello from Germany. Love your model train content. Thank you so much. Tyler says, I'm all for ghost stories. As you said, they drive tourism and help with preservation. Yeah, as much as I hate to admit it, it's true. It does. It drives tourism and stuff. The only thing about like the Queen Mary, for instance, is like I try to, wherever I can, slip in little tidbits to management that not to rely so heavily on the ghost stories, because the previous managements for the last 30 years, they relied heavily on the ghost stories and stuff. They were playing up the Queen Mary like it was some kind of haunted house. Because, yeah, they were having trouble bringing in visitors. But instead of doing what the current management's doing, which is actually refurbishing the ship, putting money back into its restoration, to beautify it, to make the rooms better to stay in, all that kind of stuff, working plumbing, working air conditioning. Instead of doing all that, they just put more money into the haunted events. And yeah, it brought them in enough income to stay alive when otherwise they probably wouldn't have. But in the long run, it kind of hurt the Queen Mary, because now it's just known as this ghost ship. And a lot of people go there not because of the history or all the amazing stuff that ship went throughout history, all that stuff the ship witnessed throughout history. They go there to look for ghosts, and that's cool. They're bringing in revenue, but people have stopped caring. And so I don't see anything wrong with doing a few ghost tours and stuff, but I've been trying to encourage this new management, just little tidbits here and there to ease off a bit on the ghost stuff. And I think they have, honestly. I can tell there's a noticeable difference between the previous management and current management. They don't rely so heavily on the ghost stuff. They've actually really pushed for restoring original areas of the ship and stuff like that. So, Tyler says, I always wondered why you don't see more ghosts on the beach. Lots of people died in the ocean. And near shore. That's a really good question. That's a really good question. Why don't you see more ghosts on the beach? I honestly couldn't tell you. You know, I don't know if ghosts are sentient. Like, I don't know if ghosts really can talk to people, or if they're just kind of like a recording that's playing over and over again. But if they are sentient, if they do have the ability to think and talk beyond the afterlife, I might see why they're not always at the beach. It's possible that ghosts can move from place to place. And just think about it, if you were a ghost, would you spend 24 hours a day at the beach? Or would you go to different places? Would you have a schedule? I know I'd have a schedule. I'd go from place to place on a regular rotating basis just to kind of have fun. You know, like I'd probably go to Disneyland for a little bit, go to the Queen Mary for a little bit. Maybe I'll visit the beach once a week or something, you know. So I can only imagine that maybe ghosts, the reason why you can't really always schedule their hauntings, maybe they go places just so they're not bored. I don't know. It's a funny thought. It's a funny thought. Hey Kevin, how's it going? Linda says, the only train I ever had was a model Disneyland train around our Christmas tree. We had an old toy model of Town Square that we put up and used to run the train through the doors of the firehouse. Oh, that's really cool. I like that. That's a good idea. I want to do a Christmas train kind of thing. I think, you know, I have a niece and nephew now. They're very, very young. But maybe next Christmas or the Christmas after, maybe I'll set up like a Christmas train kind of thing. My nephew right now, he's starting to get interested in trains. He's not even 2 years old yet. He's still a bit of a ways from 2 years old, but he's already got an interest in trains, I hear. So that'd be really fun to kind of get him into model railroading and all that. I always thought, you know, what am I going to do with my layout when my time comes, you know? Where is it going to go? Am I going to donate it somewhere? And I don't know. If my nephew is interested, or if my niece is interested in it, eventually, you know, I'll let them have it. My grandfather, before he passed away, had given a lot of stuff to me that I still have. It was all N scale, and I don't work with N scale anymore, but I still have all the stuff that my grandfather gave me. It meant a lot to him, so it means a lot to me. You know what, let's go ahead and switch the train. So we'll run it in reverse. I have little designated areas I like to keep each of the cars. It's funny because I put a lot of storage track on this layout, and I know some of the rail fans are like, why? You could just take them off the rails, you know, because there's a new trend now, maybe not new trend, but at least for the last 10 years or so, what model railroaders will do is they'll run the trains in reverse like this, but they'll have a removable track that they load they load the train onto, and what they do is they then carry that away and put that, like, let's say on a shelf or something. And so they can just pull a train on and then move the shelf, or take a train off and move the shelf. And that's how they do things, and it saves them space on the layout. But I don't have the kind of room to do that kind of thing. And plus, I like sitting here at this eye level. There's a reason why, like, if you were to stand up next to my layout, the layout is actually very short. A lot of people like to build their layout so it's 48 inches high. Mine is not. I think mine is around 38, maybe 36 inches high. And the reason why is because I like to sit down, and from this level, I'm kind of like, my eye level is kind of like maybe third or fourth floor of a building high. And from this level, I can see the whole layout, and I can admire the trains that are just sitting idly by. I like that. And if I did that technique where I would just move a shelf and take the cars off the track and all that, I wouldn't be able to really see the cars, you know, at least not in their environment. So I kind of like that. Let's go ahead and uncouple this. There we go. I would bring out the passenger train, but I don't know if I can get back there to switch that track. That's the one thing that I'm kind of upset with myself that I didn't install electric switches, is that I need to go around the layout to reach the other switches, and I can't reach one of those switches from here. So let's shut that off. We'll do the logging train. I can use this track couplers. What do you call this? An uncoupling tool. I can use this to reach over the layout and switch the track. And then I have a electrical switch here that allows me to control the logging train over there. I'll just run the logging train for a little bit. It doesn't get run enough. There we go. Alright. I don't want it to go too fast. But you see, this is one of the cool things. One of the reasons why I left N-scale model railroading, and one of the reasons I left HO scale, was because I love little trains like this tiny little porter. You'll see it come around the bend very soon. But I love little porters like this. But you can't do this in N-scale, and you might be able to accomplish it in HO scale if you do it. You build one custom for yourself. But even then, there's no guarantee that it'll work properly. Especially, it won't appear to be, what's the word, narrow gauge. Because anything smaller than this, it just doesn't run properly. So what I love about this little porter engine is that it doesn't require any rubber traction tires to help it pull things. It can pull cars with its own weight, no rubber traction tires required. And it runs very smoothly. It's a bit noisy, but it runs smoothly. So, I love it. It's pulling 4 cars right now. It's pulling 3 logging cars, 1 little caboose. I think if the rails weren't greased, it could probably pull... Actually, if the rails weren't greased, this could pull a lot more cars than this. Before I used to use the no-ox, I used to have this little porter pulling the 4-car passenger train. And the passenger train is probably a bit heavier than the freight train. The freight train has 6 cars, and I think if you were to add 3 more cars to it, it would equal the pulling weight of the passenger train. Excuse me. It's kind of dusty in here. I try to dust it as often as I can, but, you know. Anyway, so I've seen this porter engine pull the 4-car passenger train, but it can't do it with the rails greased like this. So, but as you can see, it pulls 4 cars on its own perfectly fine. But I had switched to the no-ox because I had noticed that the trains, when they would run around the track would build up oxidation just from use. And that's due to another phenomenon that I'm not really sure we want to go into because it's all sciencey. But it would build up a residue, which didn't allow for proper conductivity. And so a locomotive with only a couple of points of contact, like this Porter, it only has like 2 points of contact with the rails, one axle and then the other axle. And, or I should say one side and then the other side. 2 points of contact, essentially. Because of that, you would see it kind of jitter as it went down the rails, because it would microscopically stop and start, because it would suddenly get electrical contact, and it would move over an area with no electrical contact, and then back into an area with electrical contact. So it would jitter as it went down the rails, and it's just not good for the engine, or the motor, I should say. It's not good for the motor, and it's not good for the wheels. It's not good for anything. So this NOx ID creates a consistent electrical contact, and it runs smoothly that way. The only problem is it's grease, so it does reduce the amount of cars you can pull. So let's get to some comments here. Linda says, the only train I ever had was oh wait, she already said that. Tyler says, I would have a special ghost alert for when people talk about ghosts in my area, and then go mess with them. That's pretty funny. It would be fun to prank people if you were a ghost. Can you imagine that? Just going to behind people and like scaring them or something. Where they talk about ghosts and they go, I don't believe in ghosts, and then you go, ooh, and then they freak out. So, that's cool. You know, there's something I never noticed. I'm looking at the logs on this train. And these logs, I got them, they were just sticks, because I live in a foresty kind of area. And I went down this little walking trail, and I picked up some sticks of a certain like size that I thought, okay, if I cut this down, they'll look like scale-sized logs for the train. And they had moss and everything on them. And for like the first couple of years of having that, the moss stayed green, it just looked dry. But I've noticed that right now I'm looking at the logs, and the moss that was green for several years is now yellow. I think it's officially died. That's funny. Yeah, that's interesting. I guess it's because I expected the moss to turn yellow a lot sooner, because, you know, these logs are no longer exposed to the elements, so that the moss never grows green on them anymore. But they stayed green for several years. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I guess for people who are watching, how long have we been on the stream? 38 minutes? That's not very long. People who are watching who probably haven't kept up to the last couple of years. Oh man. They're not supposed to be here today. Today's Friday. They don't do gardening today. I guess they stopped. Well, as I was saying, to people who haven't been keeping up with the updates on my other channel, and who are wondering, well, what's happened since the last time you posted on this channel? Well, a lot has happened. My father built this building here. I drew the designs for him, and I said, can you build this? And he did. I've also built that engine house that's in the background. I've also built this water tower. This water tower is not a kit. I actually scratch built this. Quite a few things on this layout are scratch built, including all the bridges and everything, all scratch built. Um, so yeah, and then there's a couple of kits on here, like the farmhouse on the hill over there. That is a kit that was hand painted, so my father painted that. And then there's a cafe over here in the town area, a very small little building that is technically HO scale, not even O scale, because this layout's in O scale, running on HO scale tracks. But the building is HO scale, I think. Yeah. But it kind of works because the main doorway into the building is the same size as the other doorways for the other buildings. So it kind of looks like it could be just a very small, full-scale building. Linda says, oh no, leaf blowers. Yeah. Well, the gardeners were here yesterday, and they scooped up all the leaves into these big piles, but then they left them overnight. And I was thinking, I'm like, are they coming back to pick all this up? So, anyway, yeah, so there's been a lot of work on this layout since the last time I posted on this channel. And work will continue, albeit at a very slow pace, because I am a rather busy person. And it does cost a lot of money to work on these model trains. But, yeah, I'm going to do what I can to keep this layout going, and I think, what's the next step? I mean, I do want to build some more buildings, because I eventually want to install lights in all the buildings, and I've been saving up all these plug-and-play systems for lights, and I don't want to install them just yet, because I want to have all the buildings here for when that happens. And I don't have the room to work on the buildings. Oddly enough, so the room we're in my apartment is the office. So I have a computer next to me that's running the live stream, and then I have the train layout, and then a printer nearby. It's cool, I have my own room for doing trains and stuff like that. But there isn't quite enough room to work on the buildings and things, because those are made of wood and they're all scratch built. I need a good amount of space to work with to kind of cut up all those the different wood shapes and things. And I can't do it on the layout, or else I'll be scarring and cutting holes and gaps into this foam, and I just don't want to do that. So I might have to buy like a folding card table or something, because right in front of me where I'm sitting, there's a space for a card table. Maybe if I buy one of those, I can work on things here, and I can fold it up when I'm not using it. But that's yet another thing I'll have to buy just to work on trains. But I might have to do that. Because I really do want to continue work on this layout. It'd be nice to take it to special events, or bring special events to the train layout. But this layout was designed to be seen 360 degrees around. It was designed so you can walk around it and see different things from different angles on different sides. But due to the limited amount of space I have in this office, the train layout is always against the wall, so things on that side I have no access to most of the time. So, like, I want to bring out the passenger train for you guys to see, but I can't get over there to switch the track without moving all these lights and cameras I have set up. So it's kind of frustrating. Tyler says, gotta run, be back later on. Setup is looking great, by the way. Thank you so much, Tyler. And we'll see you later, Tyler. Alright, so that's that. I'm trying to decide if I should keep this live stream relatively short, because I don't yet have a ton of subscribers on this channel, and I want to attract subscribers and not make people go, oh no, an hour-long live stream, I don't want to sit through this. But they might sit through a 45-minute long live stream. But it's still fun. I love seeing the trains going round and round. I'll probably only be able to do this once a week. So I kind of don't want to leave the live stream. But maybe on the next live stream, I'll set up the passenger train. Maybe what I'll do is I'll swap the freight train with the passenger train, so that way I have easy access to the passenger train first. That might be what I'll have to do from now on, is I'll alternate each week with the passenger train running, and the freight train will be on the other side of the layout, put away. It's so fun. I love trains. But yeah, so I'm going to try to post actual update videos on this channel so you guys can see what I'm doing, but I'll admit those update videos, those are hard to make, because sometimes I'm working on something like building a building, and I have to have a camera on me the whole time while I'm doing it. And then when I need to do something, I might need to change the camera angle or stop the camera and then pause while I do something else. All that kind of stuff, and it becomes very tiring. Very tiring. And then I have to edit that. So I end up filming like 4 hours worth of footage, and then I have to like cut it down to only the most interesting things and make it into like a 15-minute video. So it's like editing down 4 hours worth of stuff into a 15-minute video. I have done the thing where I do the time lapse. So that's usually my default, is if I'm doing that, I'll just record time lapse. But it's still not much easier. We have 7 viewers, which is actually like 5 viewers more than I thought we would have. I honestly didn't expect anything more than 2 viewers today. But it's good, we have 7 at the moment. It's fluctuating between 5 and 7. But yeah, so hopefully I can build up the popularity of this channel so we can have a good conversation going every time I do a live stream. That'd be fun. And then I'll do live streams of different things too. Like, I'm working on I have a friend named Preston, and he, a couple of years back, I want to say 2017, he released a game. It's the Disneyland Railroad Simulator, and it's a very realistic operation of the steam locomotives from the Disneyland Railroad in 1955. That's the specific design of that game. And that game is now several years old, 8 years old by now, 8 years old. And a couple months ago I approached him and I said, I'd love if you could update that game and do more with it. I'd love if, first of all, the graphics were up to date, because the graphics are 8 years old. It's not the same quality that we would have today, so it doesn't look that good by today's standards. It still looks great. Don't get me wrong. It looks great. Preston, don't get mad at me. The graphics look great, but even he would agree that with the special gaming graphics we have available today, that we could do a better job. As well as the fact that what I wanted to see him do was, he only had Disneyland from 1956, from 1955 and 1957. Not much of a difference. And so I said, well, I'd like to help you. I'd like to help do this redesign of the game and implement more different types of passenger trains, because he only had the first 2 trains, the Retlaw 1 and the Retlaw 2, which were introduced in 1955. But in 1958, they introduced the excursion train, and in 1964 and 65, they introduced 2 sideways-facing passenger trains. And I'd love to see all 4 of those trains running, or I guess 5 now, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trains. But I'd like to see all 5 passenger trains represented at some point. I'd like to see Disneyland from at least 2 very significantly different eras. But I know he wants to do more than 2. So, like right now, the plan is to do Disneyland 1955, but make it updated. And then we want to introduce another year. He's thinking 1962 or something, or 63. But I'm thinking 1959 actually, because there's a big leap from Disneyland of 1955 and Disneyland of 1959. Big leap. They changed a lot of things since in that short span of time. And that'll take a lot of work on graphics to do. It'll take a lot of work. And then I think I want to introduce to him, instead of 1963, we'll do 1967. Because that's when the next great leap happened. That's when you got the new Tomorrowland, you got New Orleans Square, you got the Primeval World diorama, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. I think at the very least we'll do 3 different versions of Disneyland. 55, 59, 67. At the very least. So I'm helping him with that. We don't have a release date for the new updated game, but I do want to provide updates on this channel with that game. Show you the old game on this channel. You know, we can play the old game so you guys can see what it's like. You know, all that stuff. I think it'd be really fun to do on this channel. Linda says, weren't the original train cars sort of like cattle cars? I remember seeing them like that. First time I rode was in 1967. Yeah, so the freight train was the one that had cattle cars. So it had cattle cars, and it had what are called gondola cars, and it was capped at the end by a caboose. And you could stand up in them originally and ride around the park. But when you visited 1967, they would have had sideways facing bench seats in them. But they were still cattle cars and gondolas. They just had sideways facing bench seats. And I've already redesigned those for the 1955 version. It'll take some modification to do like a 1959 version of those same cars, because they altered them in 1959, or 1958 is when they altered them, but we're representing the park in 59, so that's what I mean. But yeah, so yeah, the park originally opened with a passenger train and a freight train. And yeah, so that'd be fun. Let's we'll put this log train away, and then we'll bring out the other locomotive, the one I call Esther, and we'll run the freight train once more. Okay, so that's that. Let's switch the track. Okay. And then we run this in reverse. There we go. Switch this track back. And then we'll do this locomotive, the Esther. I have to try every week to run at least the 3 main locomotives, because they can, oh, I forgot, I can't, this one, the back end kind of swings out wildly, so it takes a bit of work to, yeah, I can't do that. turn on this this spur line is so sharp that I can't connect the cars with this particular locomotive. So I have to manually move the cars over here to connect. There we go. And we'll get that going. And switch that. There we go. And we'll just run that train for the rest of the live stream because this locomotive needs to run around a few times and and get, you know, all the parts nice and greased up. So, but yeah, so I'm excited about this Disneyland Railroad Simulator because the original version is already super accurate on like how to run a steam locomotive, but on a computer. I don't know of any games that are anywhere near as accurate, but it'll be even more accurate with the updated version. I can already hear that this locomotive, when I first started it up, it makes this sound when it's been sitting for a while and the motor is cold. It kind of goes as it goes down the rails. But I can already tell after doing just 2 laps around the train layout, it's already quiet. That's why it's good to run all the trains, because then they get, I don't know the word, but everything gets used. You know, all the parts get moving, all the greases and stuff that keep the parts oiled and all that, they start circulating again. Oh man, I hope I'm not going to get that crazy cough that I did last year. You know, around this time of year, you know, all the leaves, they fall from the trees, and it gets we have really wet weather, because I live in the state of Oregon. I live just south of Portland. But I learned that around this time of year, when all the leaves fall on the ground, a certain mold starts to grow that breaks down all that leaf matter. I mean, the mold is always there, but it grows in huge quantities to make up for all of the dead leaves falling. And I think I'm allergic to that mold because every year around the wet season, I start to develop a cough, and I have like a post-nasal drip that happens this time of year, and man, like every year I keep thinking maybe I won't have it this year, maybe I'll be fine, but then it doesn't work out that way. So I can already tell I'm gonna have this cough again this year. This is gonna be horrible. You know what works though is taking like an anti-allergy, like Claritin or Zyrtec or something. That helps. It's just that when it gets closer for the allergy medicine to start wearing off, that's when it wears off too soon. And like I'm looking at the bottle, I'm like, I can't take another pill for like another 4 hours. And so I'm just gonna have to cough for 4 hours at least. So Linda says, oh, mold allergies, yeah, my asthma might react to that also. I think it does. I never had that problem living in Southern California. Never. But after moving up here, I started to notice that every year during the rainy season, I would start getting like that. I would start coughing and have like a post-nasal drip that makes me clear my throat constantly. Oh, man. I'll probably have to invest a lot of money in allergy pills or something. I think it's the only thing that really helps. Man, I love seeing all these trains going round and round. I hope you guys do too. I like doing these kinds of live streams because then we can interact, we can talk, and we just watch the trains go round and round. I need like powerful lights or something for this whole live stream. Because I have 4 lights on right now. 4 lights to illuminate the train layout. And it's still not enough, I feel like. Or at least they're just everywhere. The lights and the cameras, they're everywhere, so I can't move around the room very well. But I think I could solve some of that if I had like lights on the ceiling, like track lights, and they were all shining down. I don't know if I want to install track lights. That's the thing. Do I want to install track lights? I mean, I don't know. I would need at least 6 track lights or something. I probably need them in 2 different areas of the room, to be totally honest. One directly over the layout to shine down, and then one way over here shining diagonally at the layout, so all the cameras can see, you know, there's not all the buildings and stuff are in shadow. So, I don't know. I need to look at this wheel real quick. Oh, no, the wheel looks fine. This wheel almost looks like the paint is coming off, but it's not. It's fine. Linda says, this is very relaxing. That's good. It is for me too. It's what's the word? It's kind of like not hypnotizing. What's the word? Like it kind of puts you in a trance to see the trains going around. You know. I could probably stare at this for hours. I need to get the landscape painted and stuff, so that way it doesn't look like it's constantly just like white foam. But I forgot, I can't paint the landscape until I've installed all the electric for the lights. And I don't want to do all the lights until I have all the buildings constructed. It's one of those things where it's like you have to do one thing first before you can move on to the next thing. And that's kind of where I am right now. I'm in this limbo because I can't do much right now with the layout until I've built all the buildings. I could probably decorate the mountain. I could put the plants and the trees and maybe start work on the waterfalls. There's a big river back there that I'm not sure you can see from any of the camera angles, but there's a massive river that follows the whole length of the layout. And I might be able to paint the river. I don't think I could fill it yet with resin to create the water, but I could paint the river. So at least that would be done. I couldn't do that on a live stream though, because I have the layout sitting in the middle of the room with cameras and lights everywhere. Can't do that on a live stream. But that would be fun. It's funny because I think like 90% of all the train stuff you see on here, it's all secondhand. Like people have had it on their layouts before. And they usually sell this stuff because it's broken or something. You know, maybe like one of the cars falls off their layout and parts on it break off or bend or something. So they sell it real cheap on eBay, you know, thinking someone's just gonna put it as like a wreckage or something on their layout. But then what I do is I go and I fix it. Because it's cheaper to buy it broken and fix it yourself. That's what I did with all these the first 5 cars on this train, is that I bought them secondhand from people, and they were broken or dented or whatever, and they sold them to me real cheap, and I was able to fix them and still come in under the cost of a brand new car of its kind. So like, just one of those cars I bought for $10, but they go for $60, $70, $80, sometimes $90 per car. So I was able to fix them, and I think the total cost of each car after fixing them and buying the parts I needed to fix them probably came in at about $20 per car. $20 per car, yeah. Still cheaper than buying it brand new. So that's how I've done this whole layout, is I just buy broken stuff and fix it. Even the locomotives. Each one of these locomotives that I bought, didn't buy them brand new. They were already used when I bought them. And they didn't work right out of the boxes. You know, the people who sold them to me lied for sure. They said, oh, they run. So all 4 times I've purchased a locomotive from somebody, 4 different people. Each of those people told me, oh, it runs, it works. And then I try to run it on my layout and it didn't work. But that's okay, because I bought it for a dirt cheap price. So even though they lied, I still got it for really cheap. And then I just went and fixed it. That's not a word. I just went and fixed the locomotives and got them running again. I even installed new lights on their headlights and everything. So I'm very handy with model railroads. Canadian Locomotive Logistics says, would you be interested in operating a locomotive on my layout remotely? Well, that's interesting. I've never done that before. Would I be interested? I guess it depends on what that entails. Like, do I have to have specialized equipment? Do I need to download a bunch of stuff? Or do I need to dedicate a certain amount of time? That really depends. Oh, excuse me. My allergies are really getting to me. Because I'm a busy person, so I don't know that, like, if like, for instance, some people who have like a model railroad club, they might say, okay, well, you need to dedicate 4 hours today to run locomotives because that's what the schedule requires. And it's like, I wouldn't be able to dedicate certain amounts of time. I'd have to like suddenly leave or something in the middle of it. So it really depends. It really depends. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm gonna have to buy some allergy medication because I have a feeling I'm gonna be getting this cough every single day. Alright, so how long have we been on here? An hour and 8 minutes, that's pretty good. I think I'm gonna end the live stream here because I think an hour is enough for at least for now, until this channel becomes more popular and more people want to see this kind of stuff. Then they'll probably ask for the live streams to be longer, but I think an hour is good enough. And I'll try to do this once a week, maybe every Friday or something. It really depends. But Fridays and Saturdays are generally days that I'll do a live stream. So, yeah, so we'll see, and then I'll try to post some updates and things periodically as they happen. Maybe I'll do like an update roundup or something to get everybody up to speed as to what's happened on the layout these last 5 years. So maybe that's what I'll do next time. But yeah, Linda says, okay, Alex, take care, and I'll see you later. See you later, Linda. All right, folks, thank you all so much for joining me. This means a lot to me that you've shown up for the live stream. Even if you're showing up after the live stream finishes, thank you so much for clicking on the video and watching. And yeah, we'll keep this channel going with more train stuff to come. Maybe some documentaries too about different things about railroads. So anyway, folks, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody.